25 years of ERA and probably still some years ahead to improve. But the ERA agenda is not static either, and it evolves again with what member states wishes to further develop for research, for universities, for RPOs, RFOs, and of course some things also remain from the former ERA agenda, because those are activities which still need further implementation or further alignment within the member states in order to be facilitating, again, researchers and higher education and research in Europe. One of them, and they or two of them actually, which are highlighted, are probably of main importance for you, which are the enabling of open science and the research assessment. But as you can see, we further collaborate on linking, on connecting research infrastructures. We also work closely together on gender equality and the general improvement and attractiveness of researchers' careers in Europe. And for example, we are also trying to connect anything performed in the calls on the European University Alliances together with RNI. We would like to make and develop a full aligned process within Europe, linking not only the local universities with the regional and national authorities, but also again linking it to whatever policy is decided in Europe together with the triangle. Then there is new actions on which ERA will concentrate in the next years. And then you will see also some of the aspects on which further developments are currently in process, such as the equity for open science. I mean, that is one aspect which needs more attention in the next years. The policy and the science for policy ecosystems, like Gustavo already mentioned, UNESCO is working on as well. And definitely also what is the AI consequence, what is the work of the research, what will the career of a researcher change when using AI in science. Then all of this and all this work can, in my opinion, not be performed in order to progress careers of researchers without a huge bunch of research managers behind them. And I know that there's some people in the room who are working very hard on projects to improve the careers of the research managers. I remember, and then now I do a sidestep, let's say, of the presentation itself. When working in the Commission, I think that 80% of the people we saw in physical or in online meetings were not the researchers themselves, because they don't have the time for it. They don't have it. It takes a whole career to understand what kind of policies are developed in Brussels, what kind of calls are coming out, how to write a proposal. And this is not the work, well, mostly of a researcher himself or herself. It is the work of a whole team behind it. I mean, there's always, let's say, behind a great woman, a man, there is always behind a great researcher, in my opinion, there's always a great team of people who help and assist, especially also in case of open science practices and research assessment. So that is one thing which I'm happy that stayed and that is renewed on the agenda. So we will further work together with partners in the room on how to improve the careers of most people. By the way, who in the room thinks he or she is a research manager? So not a researcher, but a research manager. Partially. That's exactly, Gareth, also. Thank you very much. So basically 25%, if I counted more or less right. That's exactly also the thing, like you said, partially, because researchers move and change in their careers. I would basically say, like, okay, you start your career as a master's student, you perform your PhD, then you want to teach in a university, then there's a moment where you get kids and you think, well, let's go live in Paris for a while, but maybe not as a full researcher. I would like to manage a team. You're a research manager. And then when you're like, kids are out of the house, and then you think, maybe research was not such a bad thing, n'est-ce pas, René? And then they move back into research. So that's exactly why I think there is this overlapping of careers of researchers and research managers in one person, and you as an individual would like to make use of all kinds of policy systems which are developed in Europe in order to make your individual life easier. And I think that is what we have to strive for in Europe, to make that individual flexible career possible, of course, connected with the right assessment systems. And that's why I think I'm going to learn a lot from you today. So this is my second slide. The third is a little bit focusing more on what does this mean, that we are going to, oh no, sorry, this is the for structural policy, basically, and the topics already mentioned on the development of EOSC Federation in order to really technically also make it possible to exchange and reuse data, to increase the amount of fair research data and productivity of fair research data in Europe. So probably for all of you understandable where to find the results, where it is archived, how can I make it interoperable, and how can I reuse the data of former researchers, or and in order not to reinvent any wheel. Then ERA policy agenda tries also to develop and concrete ideas on EU copyright. Of course, that comes together with opening your data. You want to be able, if necessary, to become the owner of your own research. And of course, the impact of open science policies and practices on open science intelligence platform. And now, like I just said, there's two highlighted topics remaining in the current ERA policy agenda. One of them is the reform of research assessment, where basically the focus will be on, and that this is maybe the most important items where you as partners in OPUS would like to focus on in the next decade, also seen the calls opening in the last years of Horizon Europe in the process towards Framework Program 10. So again here, supporting and mapping the change of national frameworks towards this individual research institutions. I think this connections, like I already said a little bit with the example, that it is important to not only develop policy which will highlight the theoretical improvement of a researcher and research assessment in general in Europe, but I think we need to walk the talk and make that connection even stronger in Europe where necessary, and develop this real triangle between institutional, national, and European developments. That is regarding the reform. Oh, sorry. And here it was the open science, indeed. So this is basically a little bit of framework, let's say a context where in the Commission, together with member state in the European Research Council, further developments are discussed in order for you to progress in your work, either as a researcher or as a research manager,